Hey guys, welcome to Cooking with Chase. Hope everyone's having a great day. Today we are making pan-roasted shrimp, kind of in a Spanish, Argentinian, Portuguese style. So grab a drink, let's get cooking. I'm on the coffee today, even though it's Friday. Normally I'd have a beer, but we've got a video tomorrow, so yeah, cheers guys. Okay, so we are talking about shrimps. We're going to roast them in a pan, make a nice little olive oil, lemon, warm vinaigrette type dressing. We're going to be doing some nice garnish, surprise, surprise, pickled onions and some radish, because I'm still working through that jar and we still got radishes in the fridge. I thought I'd talk about using a mandolin safely, because I know some people, plural, have gotten mandolins recently, and these things are super dangerous. So there's kind of some safe ways to use it, some little tricks and tips. So let's get at it. First off, I just want to say that this dish I learned directly from Julie when I was at Lenya, and I wasn't off my station. Scott, who worked fish beside me, made it, and it was like the bane of his life, because it was by far, I think, maybe the most popular dish off the menu, and he had to clean for every order 5 shrimps, and we sold, I don't know, 30 to 40 orders a night, and the shrimps would only hold for like a day. So the poor guy every day at 2 o'clock would come in, just cases of these huge langoustines, beautiful Argentinian shrimp, just cleaning them and flattening them. And then during service, like we had a large flat top plancha, about kind of this big. It just fills with like 6 orders at a time, and people would get like 3 or 4 of these. Anyway, it became this kind of running joke of just how much Scott had to make this shrimp dish. So I saw it a lot. Fortunately, I never had to prep it. But every time I kind of work with shrimp, I always think of Scott and did the trials and tribulations of the shrimp dish. So let's kind of talk about the shrimp first, real quick. So I prepped most of it already. So what we're going to be kind of going for, lost a shrimp, is we're going to be flattening them like this. So they're going to get seared in a cast iron pan, kind of mimicking that flat top, is what we're trying to do at home, with the shell up and just cooked in the flesh. So it's just kind of just like the Brussels sprouts, right? Like we're searing them heavily on one side, just letting that heat work. You've noticed that a lot in our cooking, right? And it's a thing chefs do and cooks do, and there's a reason for it a lot with vegetables and proteins, is that you get a really nice textural difference, right? You get a nice hard crisp on one side, and then kind of in the shell, the goal is to keep as much of that shell intact as possible, so the rest of the shrimp is kind of just steaming. So you get a very delicate cook of steamed shrimp, and then a really, really hard sear. So that's our goal. So how you do that, and I've done most of them, but I left some to show you guys. I didn't pull another boned out chicken thigh moment. If you all remember that, is you're going to get most of the shrimps. The restaurant we'd have still have the head on. So Scott was dealing with the head on. You'd have to cut through the head. Most of the time you find them like this. And you can get the bigger ones or this. I wouldn't, just for ease of working, I wouldn't go much smaller than this. But this is pretty much as small as a shrimp as you're going to get. This is a U, I think a U30-ish. Which just means how many units per pound. So when someone calls for a U10 scallop, or a U10 shrimp, or a U30 shrimp, or a U30 scallop, it's just how many scallops, how many units will go into 1 pound, because it's a U.S. old imperial system of measuring things. So that's what they're talking about. So the higher the number, the smaller the product, because the more of that is going into a unit. So you're going to get them like this. All you're going to do is kind of take a small knife, get them on your board, and you're just going to kind of run your knife, and I'm going to try not to cut myself because I'm doing this in a really weird way because I'm trying to show you. Can you maybe come on this side so you can see like that? Can you see that? Mm-hmm. So you try not to go through the shell off one side. And then that's going to allow you to fold this. Go a little bit deeper there. Perfect. Fold this open like this. Perfect. That's kind of our goal there. So I'll do it again. And, you know, the tail is sticking up a little bit as opposed to the side. That'll get cooked when we're steaming it, when it's on the pan. So again, have this. There. You're just kind of cooking, run it through. and opening it up. See, this one, perfect. I screwed it up. I can still use this, right? But see how I cut through this? It's not going to steam as well, right? That's not what we're looking for. But don't still use it. It's just not as good as it could be. This one lost its tail. Again, that's fine. That's much better. And then just kind of open it up. Perfect. Let's do these last two. Perfect. There. And these, again, can be done the day before. I wouldn't do them any earlier than that. They're preferably the day of. And the best way to store them, face down on some damp paper towel. Well, it doesn't have to be damp. It will naturally get damp. Some paper towel and just layer them like that. So you can kind of stack them up. So I've got 2 layers of shrimp there. Okay, so that's our shrimp. I'm going to get my hands to wash. Washer board here, seafood. Oh, our cat is really enjoying our table there. Jeez. Okay, so we're going to kind of work on some garnish here. So, going to mandolin some radish, and we're going to mandolin some garlic for the sauce. And just on the shrimp, let me just say, if you can, try to buy shrimp from the U.S. Gulf. The way farmed shrimp is done in Vietnam and Thailand and Asia in general is they're farmed in mangrove forests, and they're just utterly devastating for the ecosystem there. And those ecosystems they protect the rivers because everything flowing from, the oceans, because everything flowing through the rivers goes through those mangrove forests. They are one of the biggest heat sinks for carbon dioxide and CO2 pulling emissions out of the atmosphere, and it just destroys all the mangroves forests. So the best shrimp you can get in terms of and probably taste as well, I don't know, but just ecologically is in the Gulf Coast or from British Columbia, because they're wild caught, but they've got really good practices. They don't use bottom dredging, trolling, and all that kind of nasty stuff. Do whatever you want. I'm just letting you know. Not everyone knows that's shrimp for Vietnam is just real sad. Real sad for the poor old mangrove forest there. We like those mangrove forests. So, okay, so you guys have seen before, I'm sure. I use these radishes a ton. This is radish. And I mandolin them. My brother, Dawson, he did the risotto dish, which I garnished with the radish, and I talked to him after, and he said, he doesn't have a mandolin, and he's like, it was a good bite, but the radish was too strong. It kind of blew everything out, and he's a really good cook. He worked in a really great restaurant in Ottawa. He's got good knife skills. I can't cut a radish thin enough to really garnish with any consistency. I don't really, maybe some super skilled Japanese sushi chef could, but I certainly don't have the knife skills for it. So this is kind of your best friend in that situation, but it is super dangerous, and because it is just a razor sharp blade, right? And you're pushing through it with your fingertips kind of down. So that is rough. But there are some ways to make it safer. First of all, just like when you're using a knife, the second you don't feel comfortable anymore, stop cutting. How much you can mandolin something before you kind of start getting uncomfortable will grow with time. I always say this, with your knife skills as well. If you ever get to the point where you're feeling uncomfortable, the food is not worth your fingertips. And you can use that leftover in a salad or something else, right? Compost it, give it to your dog. Actually, don't give it to your dog. I don't know if radish is good for your dog. But compost it, use it in a salad, use it for something else. But this is the mandolin I recommend. I think I've got it linked somewhere. On the YouTube video. It's a Japanese mandolin. They're great for 2 reasons. One is the blades are replaceable. So this unit, you'll never have to buy this again. You just have to buy a replacement blade. And the other reason is it comes with all these great attachments that are they're not fixed. So a lot of ones will have ones where it flips the whole blade around, and one's for shredding, one's not. These just slide in and lock in with these little set screws. And then you've got, julienne there, right? And I use this a lot especially for the ramen video and stuff like that. Or cabbage,
Or the hash browns.
Or the hash browns. This is the attachment I use for those hash browns. And it's great because you get really nice, long, super consistent. It works on the shredder, but it's better on this because the shredder cuts kind of like diamonds, like ovals. So these are perfect, kind of like the potatoes the same consistency all the way through, which is great for cooking. But I'll mention it again. These are dangerous. More cooks have ruined their fingertips off these things than I think any other utensil in the kitchen. So what you want to do is, number one, this is always store it completely set up. So when you grab it, you can't get your fingers in there and cut yourself. And then the best way to set it is actually, you're going to have your thumb over the blade and move it, right? Because that's the whole thing. Your fingers are more sensitive than your eyes when it comes to feeling like differences in height and texture, right? So your thumb there will kind of give you an idea of where you're set. Then when you're starting off, and again, I will admit I don't necessarily do this as much anymore. So it's not slipping around. Take a towel, put a towel down here so it's not slipping, right? Grab it like this, kind of with your thumb. How do I describe this? So I'm holding this, but my thumb is the lowest part of my fingers. Does that make sense? So I'm kind of grabbing like the food like this. And the idea is that like this will be a much less severe cut than this. If I'm going in, I'm not going to lose my fingertip. I'll kind of feel it and like just glance off there. It's kind of the thought behind that. And then when you're cutting, just give it a couple cuts, kind of see where you are for thickness. See, that's way too thick for a garnish, you know? And I'm putting my thumb there, and I can feel the platform move up. Do another kind of couple cuts. Still too thick. Right? And there we go. That's kind of like where you're at. So you can see that a good indication is, see how this one is still sitting fairly flat, and this one immediately curves? That's how you know you're kind of getting into that thin realm. And then these are going to go into water, and that's going to help them curl. But I'm doing a couple things when I'm using this is I'm following this line, right? So you see how I'm using this? The side of it, I'm not cutting kind of randomly all over here. I'm following the side of the mandolin. You see that on there? Okay. And that does two things. One is it helps stabilize the food. And two, the mandolin kind of will tilt a little bit. Do a little bit of this. So this, you know, you're always kind of cutting in the same spot. Yeah, so these look great. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go. And I'm just going to stop. I would go further, but I think when you start, just go to there. Use these for salads, like I said. Use them for something else. Whatever. So I already got some in water that I did before because it's nice to let these sit for about half an hour at least. Half an hour, 40 minutes to really get curly. Then you're just going to take some cold water and just drain it off a couple of times. You can see the water kind of goes a little, not really enough in there. The water will go a touch pink. Just drain it a few times and then fire it in the fridge. Okay. We're going to do the same thing with the garlic. So this is, I just slice it with my knife now, but this is a great way, and in the restaurant this is how we did it. It's the same thing. It's really weird. I haven't used one of these cloths in forever. I'm going to continue to do it though. So the garlic's really dangerous because it's high. When I say high, it means tall off the blade. So the danger is you're going to slit like this and cut yourself like that, right? So what I'm doing there is I'm holding it, but I'm actually taking my thumb and using my thumb here so the garlic can't fall. Does that show up?
I think so.
So my thumb is using it as a support. So I'm not just freehanding it in there, and it's mimicking the same motion of using your knuckles and guide, right? You've locked the blade into something, and it's keeping it from tilting. So you're just gonna go, kind of work your way down, and again, right here, I slow down, and that's as far as I'll go, right? So again, I've got my thumb there. Sorry, I'll slow down here. I've got the thumb is guiding on there. My thumb is sitting lower than my finger, right? This is probably making my dad so nervous. My dad cannot watch me cut things. Sorry, Pops. He's probably walked up, left my mom alone, sitting on the couch with a glass of wine, just going, but anyway, that's the safest way to use a mandolin. And just like a knife, like anything, slow. Start off slow, the speed will come, but you are going to destroy yourself if you're just trying to go quick and not using proper technique. So keeping your thumb below your finger, right? That's kind of your guide. Letting yourself sit here. Use the edge of this to help support your food, and hopefully you won't take off your fingertip. Okay, back to cooking. All right, so we've got garnish, right? We've got our garlic. We've got all of our things here. Towel going. Have a little sip of coffee. All right, so we've got our pans are heated up, right? Like normally do. And I've got two pans here. One is I'm going to press the shrimp down with, and I get that hot, so I'm getting heat from the top and the bottom. Helps it cook a little quicker, right? Because we don't want to overcook the shrimp, so we want to get it cooked nice and fast. The second one is our cast iron or heavy bottomed steel pan, if you don't have a cast iron. If you have, like my parents have a really nice range with a flat top, or if you have one of those cast iron flat tops that you can put on your burners, use that. That would be perfect. And all we're going to do with this is grab a little neutral oil. So, not olive oil, because it's going to be pretty hot here. We can turn up my heat a little bit. We're going to get a bit of oil. That's great. See, it's smoking. We want that smoke, right? Get that spread around. That's really good. And then we're not going to season the shrimp. We're going to season the pan itself, right? Because it'd be really hard to consistently season those shrimp. So we're just going to take some salt and spread some salt nice and evenly on here. The shrimp will pick that up once we put it into the pan. So this is nice, smoky, really good. Grab my shrimp. You just kind of want to do this in batches. Stuff there. Nice ones there. There. Perfect. Okay. Now we're going to take this pan, get on there. And that's just to keep them from curling up. So as the protein cooks, the fiber, it releases its liquid, the muscles want to tense, right? So to prevent that from happening and keep it nice and flat, we've got that pan keeping weight on it, right? Because with fish, when we were cooking the trout, we had a really low heat, so the skin went, but then it immediately relaxed because it was in low heat. These are just getting hammered with heat. So we just want to get them nice and quick cook on those, right? So, those are going, they look great. Let's start about our dressing. So I'm going to get, this was cold, right? We want to start off cold. Start off with some olive oil. You want to go fairly generous. This is our dressing. So I got about 2-3 tablespoons in there. I'm going to start off with some pepper. Some chili flakes. And the amount is optional, but you need some chili. Like if you put this amount, it won't really make it spicy. This amount is just going to infuse that chili flavor. There's a lot of depth from that chili. In there, touch of salt. You can tell that seafood's basically done now. Yep, so these are done. It's quick. Take them off, grab a plate. Should have a plate ready. So you can see they still curled a little bit. That's okay. We're just going to cook this for now. Just going to fire this in the oven so it's less smoky. Turn this off. Turn this off. Perfect. Okay. So just actually use the heat from this one. And then our garlic. All of our garlic there. And just like our pasta sauce, if we remember that video, we're trying to infuse the garlic flavor into the oil, right? So we're bringing it up to temperature together. That's what we're doing here. Okay. So while this is going, we can finish our kind of garnishes here. So I got some fresh parsley. This would be great with cilantro. Great with really any herbs. Basil would be nice on there. Just something fresh, right? I'm gonna grab a knife. I got some spring onions here that are gonna be, great. Just want to go nice and thin. The spring onions. I use the whites and the greens if you like the greens better. The green is a bit more mild. The white has a bit more onion flavor. I like both of it. It's fine with me. In there. Okay, so our garlic is going here. I heard it. Okay, that's happy. Let's really start to smell that. Super fragrant. And you just want to watch it because this can turn on you in a moment. And we do not want burnt garlic, right? That's that bitter, awful flavor. So this is kind of one of those things where you just want to be ready to pull this off the heat. Okay. And that's where I want it. That's just a bit of a feel thing, right? I can't really explain why I pulled it off then. Stand back. And then what I'm doing here is I'm squeezing the entire lemon and I'm doing this hot. I want that. This is going to cool down the oil and stop it from cooking anymore. And what you'll also notice is that it smells amazing, right? But you'll notice that it hasn't emulsified necessarily, but what happens when you add acid and heat, you're kind of forcing an emulsification. So I'm using the word emulsification. It's not really what's happening, but how do I explain this? The hot oil, it can accept the acid in a way that cold oil can't, right? So if you're making a vinaigrette, no matter how much you shake, it will always just split out. But you can see this, right? It's kind of homogeneous. Like that lemon juice is not totally separate from this. And that's just because that heat can kind of force it in there, right? So this is a really, really nice dressing. This is great on chicken, on vegetables, all that. Just see how hot that is. So good. Touch more salt. It says that the olive oil, as accepted that garlic, right? It's really nice and garlicky, but really gentle. That comes from the garlic going in the olive oil cold. A little spicy. The lemon juice is super bright, super floral. It's great. Okay, so we got our spring onions here. Just gonna roughly chop this parsley. I don't mind big chunks of parsley. I like it. If you like it finer, chop it up a little finer. We did it with cilantro at the restaurant. And that was fantastic. Some people don't like cilantro, and we don't have it. So, there. And I'm just going to go ahead and combine these, kind of mix these up, make a little herb medley here. Yeah, perfect. Okay, put this off to the side, and we're kind of ready to go to plate here. So again, it's a real quick dish. Okay, less quick if you go on long stories about Scotch king shrimp. But there we go. So, how you want to lay these out is you kind of just put them face up. Kind of just arrange them in a nice little pattern. You can see that nice char, that color we picked up on there. Perfect. This is great for summer barbecues or dinner parties, or just a nice snack. It's just a nice way, a different way to kind of cook shrimp. And I'm just keeping all the tails kind of arranged in the same way, right? That's all I'm looking for here, but I'm also trying to kind of keep it in a circle. Yeah. And then we've got a really nice dressing here. You just want to kind of flood each shrimp with some garlic. A little chili to shell should hold in some of that dressing. And it's potent, so you don't need to go crazy. Oh, perfect. And then you can come and you can hit it with some of these nice fresh herbs. I've got some more radish. Ones that I curled earlier in here. You can see how much more they curled. So they become almost like these petals, these flower petals. Right? That's like cold water and letting them sit. And it's Friday. Let's get the tweezers out. Hey, Dawson? I don't know if you're watching. And again. Okay, just come in here. radishes. And I'm happy with that. These little pickled onions. I went for the little ones so they kind of, you can get little bites. I tried to pick out the smaller little pieces, right? There's nice little onion rings. Not the deep fried onion rings. Oh, and by the way, guys, make that chicken parm recipe. I have not had that in a long time. You can tell I had it for dinner last night. That is a banger. That is a really nice dish. I don't often say go crazy on saying how good my recipes are, but that's a winner. Yeah, perfect. And I know there's a lot of oil in here. In the dressing, shrimps don't have a lot of fat in them, right? This is a really beautiful olive oil that my brother got me. I'll also quickly say, you can buy your oils in kind of qualities, right? So we'll buy a really cheap olive oil blend to use for cooking, kind of a nicer one for salad dressings, and go out and splurge on a really nice bottle of stuff for finishing, like a finishing oil. And you don't use a lot, and it adds so much to the dish. And you just literally come in kind of adding little drops onto those radishes, right? You know, I'm using 6 drops there, but that amount of flavor you're adding out of this. So this is Malvasia, kind of olive oil. If you can track down Toronto, whatever, just go. It lasts so long that your money is well kind of spent on that. So yeah, I know there was a lot of talking for a short amount of cooking. Guys, this is hand roasted shrimp with olive oil and garlic vinaigrette, some little pickles, and some herb garnish. Okay. So thanks for tuning in. If you're cooking along or making the recipe, be sure to tag me at Chase Rose, #Chase. We are going to YouTube next week, so go subscribe to me on YouTube, Cooking with Chase. Stay home, stay safe, eat well, and we will see you tomorrow because we have an episode on Saturday because I missed you twice this week. So meatballs tomorrow. Great Saturday, kind of simmering all day kind of dish. All right, guys. See ya.